यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारि यमुनातीरा वनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद श्री प्रभुपाद की जय Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for joining today for Bhagavad Gita class. And today we are going to read the verse number 29 from chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita as it is book. So I am going to share the verse on the screen and then we will recite. Okay. So let me make it a little bigger. You all can see. Okay. जरा मरण मोक्षाय
जरामरणमोक्षाय
मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये
मामाश्रित्य
मामाश्रित्य
तन्ति
ते
ते ब्रह्मा तद्विदु कृत्स्नम्
ते
ब्रह्म
ब्रह्म
तद्विदु
तद्विदु
कृत्स्नम्
कृष्णम्
अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम्
आध्यात्मं
आध्यात्मं
कर्म
कर्म
चाखिलम्
चाखिलम्
जरा मरण मोक्षाय
जरामरणमोक्षाय
जरामरणमोक्षाय
माम् आश्रित्य यतन्ति ये
माम्
मामाश्रित्य
आश्रित्य
यतन्ति
अतन्ति
ये
ये
ते ब्रह्मा तद्विदु कृत्स्नम्
ते
ते ब्रह्म
ब्रह्म
तद्विदु
तद्विदु
कृत्स्नम्
कृष्णम्
अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम्
आध्यात्मं
आध्यात्मं
कर्म
कर्म
चाखिलम्
चाखिलम्
जरा मरण मोक्षाय
जरामरणमोक्षाय
जरामरणमोक्षाय
माम् आश्रित्य यतन्ति ये
माम्
मामाश्रित्य
आश्रित्य
यतन्ति
अतन्ति
ये
ये
ते ब्रह्मा तद्विदु कृत्स्नम्
ते
ते ब्रह्म
ब्रह्म
तद्विदु
तद्विदु
कृत्स्नम्
कृष्णम्
अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम्
आध्यात्मं
आध्यात्मं
कर्म
कर्म
चाखिलम्
चाखिलम्
Anyone would like to recite?
जरामरणमोक्षाय
जरा मरण
जरामरणमोक्षाय
मोक्षाय
मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये
मामाश्रित्य
मामाश्रित्य
अतन्ति ये
यतन्ति ये
ते ब्रह्म तद्विदु कृत्स्नम्
ते
ते
ब्रह्म
ब्रह्म
तद्विदु
तद्विदु
कृष्णम्
कृत्स्नम्
आध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम्
आध्यात्मं
Adhyatmam
कर्म
karma
चाखिलम्
chakilam.
जरामरणमोक्षाय
Jara marana
जरामरणमोक्षाय
mokshaya.
माम् आश्रित्य यतन्ति ये
Mam
मामाश्रित्य
ashritya
यतन्ति ये
yatanti ye.
ते ब्रह्म तद्विदु कृष्णम्
ते
Te
ब्रह्म
brahma
तद्विदु
tadvidu
कृत्स्नम्
krishnam.
अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम्
आध्यात्मं
Adhyatmam
कर्म
karma
चाखिलम्
chakilam. Okay, Radhika going to recite. Radhika, you want to recite?
मरणमोक्षाय
जरामरणमोक्षाय
जरामरणमोक्षाय
मामश्रित्य यतान्ति च ये
माम्
मामाश्रित्य
आश्रित्य
यतन्ति
यतन्ति
ये
ये
ते ब्रह्म तद्विदु कृत्स्नम्
ते
ते
ब्रह्म
ब्रह्म तद्विदु
तद्विदु
कृत्स्नम्
कृष्णम्
अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम्
अध्यात्मं
अध्यात्मं
कर्म
कर्म चाखिलम्
चाखिलम्
Okay, so we'll now read the synonyms. Jara from old age,
Jara
जरा
from
from
old
old
age,
age
Marana and death,
Marana
Marana
and
and
death
death,
Mokshaya for the purpose of liberation,
Mokshaya
Mokshaya
for
for
the
the
purpose
purpose
of
of liberation,
liberation
Mam, me,
Mam me
me,
Ashritya taking shelter of,
Ashritya taking
Asritya taking
shelter of,
shelter of
Yatanti endeavor,
Yatanti
Yatanti
endeavor,
endeavor
Ye all those who,
ye
Ye
all
all
those
those
who,
who
Te such persons,
they
they
such
such persons,
persons
Brahma, Brahman,
Brahma,
Brahma
Brahman,
Brahman
Tat actually that,
Tat
that
actually
actually
that,
that
Vidu they know,
Vidhu
Vidhu
they
they
know,
know
Krutznam everything,
Kritsnam
Krishnam
everything,
everything
Adhyatmam transcendental,
Adhyatma
Adhyatmam
transcendental,
transcendental
Karma activities,
karma
Karma
activities
activities,
Cha also,
Cha
Cha
also,
also
Akhilam entirely.
Akhilam
Akhilam
entirely.
entirely.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Purport. Birth, death, old age, and diseases affect this material body, but not the spiritual body. There is no birth, death, old age, and disease for the spiritual body. So, one who attains a spiritual body becomes one of the associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages in eternal devotional service is really liberated. Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit. It is said that one should understand that he is Brahman, spirit soul. This Brahman conception of life is also in devotional service as described in this verse. The pure devotees are transcendentally situated on the Brahman platform and they know everything about transcendental activities. Four kinds of impure devotees who engage themselves in the transcendental service of the Lord achieve their respective goals. And by the grace of the Supreme Lord, when they are fully Krishna conscious, they actually enjoy spiritual association with the Supreme Lord. But those who are worshippers of demigods never reach the Supreme Lord in his supreme planet. Even the less intelligent Brahman realized persons cannot reach the supreme planet of Krishna known as Golok Vrindavan. Only persons who perform activities in Krishna consciousness, Mam Ashritya, are actually entitled to be called Brahman because they are actually endeavoring to reach the Krishna planet. Such persons have no misgivings about Krishna and thus they are factually Brahman. Those who are engaged in worshipping the form or archa of the Lord, or who are engaged in meditation on the Lord simply for liberation from material bondage, also know by the grace of the Lord the purports of Brahman, Adhibhuta, etc., as explained by the Lord in the next chapter. I'll read the translation one more time. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for the liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service, and they are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Hare Krishna. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा. So in chapter 7, in this particular verse, Bhagwan Krishna is speaking about intelligent persons. So what intelligent person do? Who they endeavor for liberation from old age and death. So let me, okay. So as this verse talk about intelligent person, and if I think in the material world or the day-to-day life, everyone has a different conception of intelligence. Meaning what an intelligent man would be and what an intelligent woman would be, right? For example, say amongst a group of doctors, a very experienced doctor is considered as intelligent. Among the thieves, the best thief is considered as intelligent. Among the politicians, the person who somehow or other tell most lies and accumulate most wealth, get more power, is considered as intelligent, right? Maybe in the school, in the mathematics, someone who scored a very high rank, high grade, he's considered as intelligent. So these are different perception of intelligence in different types of different categories of groups, categories of people we see, right? And but what is the intelligence Krishna is speaking in this verse? Because in this particular verse translation itself, Krishna says, one who is endeavoring for the liberation from old age and death. Now, as we all are practicing and we are hearing this many times, we can appreciate. However, if we go out of this congregation and if we say the same line to someone else, they may not appreciate this. They may They may even challenge what that means. One who is endeavoring for the liberation from old age and death. How come that is an intelligence? So, but here Bhagavan Krishna explains the real intelligence is who is endeavoring for liberation from old age and death. That person is intelligent. And then the question is why someone outside or someone who is not practicing this bhakti or someone who doesn't have this knowledge, right? So that so absence of knowledge make that person is not appreciating that what this intelligence of endeavoring for a liberation from old age and death, because there is a lack of knowledge, because the schools that we go, the college, the universities that we go, the association typically we have, then we don't get this knowledge. That is who we are and who the God is and what is our relationship and what are the true miseries of the life. And typically the conditioned people focus on those miseries such as uh, miseries related to anything that do not fulfill your desire, right? Meaning sometimes miseries because of health, miseries because of wealth, miseries because of maybe uh, because of people around us, right? So there are, or maybe natural miseries, calamities. So there are so many miseries, and everyone is trying to find solution. That solution, some it helps, but it's temporary, right? So, but what they don't understand that no one, the miseries like old age, death, birth, and disease, these four miseries, no one can escape, right? So even if someone perform most pious activities in this world, even if someone get a nice prosperity, someone get a very good health, someone get nice children, good wife, good husband, good everything, but eventually one has to grow old. One may get disease, and eventually one has to die. Now, to the degree one is conditioned to the happiness of one's good karma, to that degree one has to suffer when one lose that happiness. So that's where the intelligence is. One who is intelligent doesn't try to make nice arrangement for happiness in this place of death. So I was reading the article, sorry, the lecture from His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, and he was quoting an example from a Christian scripture. So in the Christian scripture, there is a line that says, "The world is like a bridge. It is a bridge to take you from ignorance to knowledge." Now, this world, this bridge, is constructed by God to take you from illusion to reality, from the material world to the spiritual world. Now, the intelligent person, now that's where this is how now Maharaj explained the intelligence. Now, intelligent person cross over this bridge. He doesn't try to build house, amenities, or mall or anything, and he doesn't try to live on the bridge. He just consider bridge as a way to cross over from illusion to reality. However, the conditioned person or our general society, we always behind trying to build something on that bridge and always try to, they think this is going to be eternal. They try to find happiness in that bridge, and that is called ignorance. So even if one is highly qualified, maybe one has masters, one may be scientist, one may be a PhD, One is top class intelligent person, maybe working in NASA, maybe one high class IT computer programmer who can write very complex computer programming, right? But even though whatever we are, if one is trying to find happiness in this crossover, this bridge, then he's considered or she's considered as less intelligent. Now, Radhanath Maharaj, then he quoted, he mentioned about Srila Prabhupada. Now, Srila Prabhupada and the quality that Maharaj quoted is Srila Prabhupada was very straightforward in citing this truth in front of the intelligent class. He was never shy. He never tried to explain in a rosy word so that just to get acceptance from the mass. No. Srila Prabhupada was very straightforward. When he used to visit biggest universities like MIT, Harvard, scientists, professors, he would tell upfront and very clearly that you are all ignorant. And they were too also very surprised because no one ever told them anything like this. But Srila Prabhupada proved to them that they are ignorant, that you are trying to find happiness in a place of misery, right? You don't even know who you are. So again, going back to the verse where Bhagavan Krishna is talking about intelligence. So what that real intelligence is not intelligence by academic excellence. This is not an intelligence to acquire wealth or acquire more material prosperity and build, try to find happiness in that crossover bridge. So that's where this Krishna Bhagwan clearly is the clear definition what intelligent person does. He try to endeavor to liberate. Now, when someone tried to liberate means he has a knowledge of the true miseries of the life. Now, there is a story in the Bhagavatam of King Nruga, right? So that's in the 10th canto, and that we'll see how that story unfolds. So one time when the Krishna was living in Dwarka, the children of Dwaraka Samba, Pradyumna and others, they were all playing in a small forest. And in their playing, they became very thirsty for water. And what they saw, there is a well. So they all ran to the well. And when they see that they see it's a dry well. But what they see inside the well is really wonderful. What they saw, a very big size lizard was present inside the well. So the boys were very compassionate. I mean, they wanted to save. They try whatever. They took some straps, ropes. They tried many ways, but they couldn't get the lizard out. And then, you know, right? When nothing works, then what one does, that you take shelter of God, right? So what those children does, so they went to the palace of Lord Shri Krishna in Dwarkadhish, right? And they explained this situation to Lord Krishna, that there is a big lizard in the well and we want to save him, so please come and take him out of this wall. So now if you see here, these children, they approach Krishna because I think they have done with lots of their efforts, but I think then they say, Krishna, they approach Lord because they know that only God can help in this particular situation. So Krishna then came to the well, and what Krishna does, Krishna extend his left hand and he lifted the lizard out of the well. He set him on the ground, and what happened, that that lizard transformed into a beautiful demigod, right? So similarly, now what we are in this body is basically we are like a lizard, like material bodies in this material life. But when Krishna picks picks us up by his causeless mercy, then he revives our original spiritual body that is eternal, right? And that's why Srila Prabhupada also mentioned in this particular uh, purport that one who attains a spiritual body, he becomes the one of the associate of Krishna. So going back to the story of this lizard, Krishna's hand transformed the lizard into a beautiful demigod and conditioned people like us who is coming to transform us, devotees, because devotees of the God are more merciful than God himself. So in our life, especially in this age of Kali, who came? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he descended, he's Krishna himself. And then in the disciplic succession, many acharyas, and especially in this particular, for us, Srila Prabhupada, right? So he came and he is actually helping us so that we get that intelligence and it transform us and eventually help us to get that liberation from the repeated cycle of birth and death. So now Krishna knows, as we know, Krishna knows past, present, and future, right? But for the sake of everybody to know why, how come there was a lizard and what now demigod is in front of everyone, then what is the story? Like what? Then Krishna just asked a question, why are you in the form of a lizard? It doesn't mean Krishna doesn't know. It's just for the sake of others to know what was this, what caused it. So then that demigod start to explain that he was practicing karma kanda type of religion. So he was worshipping God, he was worshipping demigod, he was performing lots of pious activity. For what? With the hope of getting very good material pleasures, prosperity in return. So Krishna explained in the 7th chapter that people of small intelligence worship the demigods for material prosperity. And we see this clear example here. Because it is temporary and cannot satisfy the heart, those who are intelligent, they worship Krishna. I think Krishna explained that different classes of people who worship whom, but Krishna clearly explained that who knows what is eternal, they worship Krishna, right? So going back to the story that demigod was explaining, that when how he was practicing the karma kanda type of religion, he was doing a lot of pious activity, he giving so many donations, lots of gifts to many brahmanas, right? So now what happened is he gave lots of cows to one brahmana. And what happened after that donation, one particular cow, she without anybody's notice, she actually came back. She came back to King Nruga. But King Nruga wasn't aware of that one particular cow came back. And then he was like continuing his donation, cow donation, right? So then another Brahman came, and he also gave him thousands of cows to the another Brahman. But in that thousands of cows, this this cow was part of it. So, but King Druga was not aware that the cow that came back from the first Brahmana, now it's gone to second Brahmana. What happened? The first Brahmana came back to the King Druga's palace because he somehow come to know this, that his cow is missing, and he said, "You are a sinful man. Whatever you gave to Brahmana, now that's the property of Brahmana. You gave me a cow, and now you gave it to someone else." So now here King Druga was very disturbed. Even after years and years of perfectly performing puja, doing lots of pious activity, lots of charity to poor and Brahmana, he did everything wonderfully, but he just did just one mistake, that also unknowingly. He had no control on that. Right? So that is the path, that is the way the path of karma kanda is. You can perform so many puja, but one slight mistake can ruin all the benefits that one gets after doing those different pujas and pious activity. So King Druga was very disturbed. He ran to second Brahman and he said, "Hey, I'll give you 1,000 more cows if you can give me that specific cow back, so that I can take that cow to the first Brahman." But second Brahman denied. He said, "No, you gave me that cow. I cannot give you back. And it would be sinful for you if you take it back." So now King Druga, he went to first Brahman, and then he also tried to do the same thing. Like, "Hey, I'll give you thousands or lakhs of more cows. Can you just let that other Brahmana keep the cow?" The first Brahmana said no, right? So, so so this is all happening, and then after that, those two Brahmana, they started arguing to each other on that the cow, right? And then after that event, then very soon after this event, the King Druga died, not because of this event, but after some period. And then he was brought to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj said, "You have done so much of good work, so many religious things. You can really go to heavenly planets for a long time, but you made one mistake, that you gave the same cow to two Brahmins. So what do you want to do? You want to take suffering first, or you want to enjoy first?" So answer the King Druga gave, "I will suffer first." And Srila Prabhupada explained why he did that. Because King Druga wanted to enjoy to his heart's content. And when you know that at the end of your enjoyment, you have to suffer, that is in your mind, then you cannot fully enjoy. Right? So better you take suffering, and once you suffering is done, you can enjoy without having any mental block. Right? And then Yamaraj said, "Okay," and that's why he became a lizard trapped in a well. Right? So here one example of a king who was, although he was doing, so here we see what is the intelligence means here. This is not real intelligence, right? Even though one performing all karma kandic activities just for something to get return, and those karma kandic activities, even though you accumulate lot of credits, lot of benefits, but one small mistake ruin everything immediately. So what is the message is, those credits, those benefits are temporary in nature. So is that an intelligent activity? No. Right? So then what is the intelligent activity? So there is another story of King Ambrish, right? So that we all know, that King Ambrish and Durvasa Muni Rishi. Sorry, the story of King Amrish and Durvas Muni. So Durvas Muni and his other, I think, the fellows and disciples, they are visiting King Amrish, I think uh, on the on the s- the next day of the Ekadashi, and uh, so he actually invited, he paid all obeisances. Then Durvasa Muni said, okay, I'll take prasad, but I'll go to Yamuna first, I'll take bath. Right, I'll just cut short this story. Right, so so it was taking longer Durvas Muni to come back to palace, but now it was, time was getting like he has to even break the fast. He could not eat, but he could. Then he consulted with uh, the who are in the palace, and they all came to a conclusion. He can drink charanamrit, because drinking charanamrit technically won't break the fast. But for some reason, then he drank the charanamrit, and then Durvas Muni came to know, because of his power, yogic power, and then he actually came and he said, you made a mistake, I'm Brahmin, right? Now you deserve to die. And then he took the hair and then he threw it on the ground. So now King Amrish, that time he prayed Krishna, if you desire to save me, then then I have no fear from this demon. Or if you desire to kill me, I'm ready to die. So here what happened is, um, Krishna come to protect, because here Amrish Muni, he actually surrendered to Krishna, right? So Amrish Muni, sorry, the King Amrish, if you see, he was on the path of bhakti. I think that's the difference we see. So that's where we see the intelligence. So King Amrish, uh, he's he's the bhakta, right? So, and in case of King Nruga, he was doing karma kandi activity. So having these two examples, we can understand like what is more intelligent. So coming back to the verse, even Srila Prabhupada explains that uh, Srila Prabhupada, after talking about this, uh, the birth, death, old age, and disease, these are the four miseries in the life. Then Srila Prabhupada further proceed and talk about two kinds of devotees, pure devotees and impure devotees. And why impure devotees? Because um, impure devotees, there are four kinds, as explained in the same chapter. That is, one who approach Lord, who does lots of pious activity, but who approach Lord in case of distress, for wealth, inquiry, right, inquisitiveness, so and so forth. Now, Srila Prabhupada explained how the journey for impure devotees. So who engage themselves in the transcendental service of the Lord to achieve their respective goals. Initially, their that's what they want. They want their respective goal. They may not want a bhakti, but gradually by the grace of Lord, they become fully Krishna conscious. That's what Srila Prabhupada explained. But Srila Prabhupada also explained the worshippers of demigods never reach Supreme Lord in his supreme planet. So that's where Srila Prabhupada, I think in the previous verses, this was explained in much more detail, like what happens when the demigod worshippers, what is the result? They do not go to supreme planet, right? So in this particular verse, I think the Krishna Bhagwan is talking about intelligent persons that we discuss in detail. That is, it is not our perception of intelligence about just academic excellence, etc. But this intelligence is who has a knowledge about what are the miseries, true miseries of the life, and then he endeavors, and he that's where Bhakti is not about sitting idle. Srila Prabhupada also mentioned about that, because there are some impersonalists. They think you just stop doing all your activities. That's it. But Srila Prabhupada says no. Here Bhagwan says that intelligent person who endeavor, right? So then you perform services. So devotional service, right? So you perform, you do endeavor. It's not like you stop and sit idle. So intelligent person is who endeavor for liberation and take refuge, and they are actually Brahman, because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. So that's where I think Srila Bhagwan Krishna is really clarifying intelligence and um, how that will help eventually. That is the liberation from the old age and death. And what conditioned person, uh, they don't appreciate it because lack of knowledge. But as we are in this process, in the mission of uh, Srila Prabhupada, we get this knowledge in disciplic succession, which is a very bona fide disciplic succession. And so that's why we can appreciate that what this intelligence really means. And that's what we should strive for. That we should not, we should, that this knowledge and our devotional service on a daily basis, the sadhana, that will help us to not, uh, I would say, reduce our material attachment gradually. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's where the determination and sincerity is important. And even though we eventually go to those stages, old age or death or whatnot, but that time we are prepared, because now we have all the ammunition, we have blessings from our acharya. So then we know how to really face it. We know what those stages are and who we are. At least we will be better prepped how to deal with those situations, as our attachment to body eventually will degrade gradually and gradually, so that we will be more focusing on at a higher reality, that is soul and our relationship with the God. And that's what Bhagwan is talking about, an intelligent person. And the same person, Bhagwan said, they are actually Brahman too. So Brahman word means who were transcendental, meaning beyond the bodily conception of life. With that said, I'll stop here. Uh, this is this 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 is very direct explanation by Bhagwan about intelligence and Brahman. And if you have any comments, questions, or any corrections, feel free to proceed. Hare Krishna. And I know this chapter was, as I was reading, it's very philosophical. I mean, but I while reading uh, on uh, on the internet, I came across these two nice stories from Bhagavatam that helped me also understand, like how King Nruga and how King Ambrish, and how they get, how the intelligence helped them, uh, what kind of intelligence each of those king had, and what was the result in each of their cases. So that helped me understand about this particular verse better.
So I guess if we are not that determined, that means we are not completely eradicated from our dualities. Huh?
Hmm. Yes, Mataji.
That's what this verse is saying.
Yeah.
But
But yeah. Yeah, Mother, you saying something? Go ahead.
No, we like I think yesterday also Srinivasacharya Prabhu said the same thing, that we must have done some pious activities in our past lives, or even some Adnyata Sukriti,
Yes.
to have even taken up this process, but then again, there is also the mercy of the pure devotee. We encountered the mercy of pure devotees.
Yes, Mataji. Otherwise, this is not possible. Otherwise, I will not be here. We all will not be here at all.
No, it's not that easy. It is like Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha,
True. Amarendra Prabhu lecture, he was, and I do that, and I know, I don't know when I will improve, but Amarendra Prabhu was talking about when we go and start to attend lecture, say in ISKCON, and he gave example of, I think, Putana story.
Mhm.
So typically some people say, oh, Putana story, I know. So then typically your mind says, okay, let's forget about, we'll do something else. Because how many times we'll hear the same story? But that's a slippery slope, because then we are actually moving away from the association. However, we think, oh, I know the story, and then I will not attend lecture. I will do something else because I think that's much better than this. And I have seen that in myself. Like, so those are the things we have to be cautious of, and just to attend. And because every time one never know like what it will unfold for that particular person at that time in that story.
Yeah, because transcendental topics are such that every time you hear it, if you're truly hearing with attention, you're going to get a new melody, a new, something new unfolds in that very same transcendental story.
Yeah,
It is like unlimited, flavors unfold.
true.
I mean, we can recognize that from our Damodar Janani in the morning.
Absolutely, Mataji.
I mean, my God, every single day we've heard this story. We've all heard this story. But there is like so many, many, many different flavors that unfold every single morning. Yeah.
And and those hearing part, in addition, so Damodar Jani is a very classic example.
Mhm.
So things unfold, and sometimes maybe I use direct, like sometimes they slap also on my face. Like sometimes I see my mistakes like this. And then that try to help me to, okay, now I have to really go back. And because sometimes we get a little bit relaxed, but that hearing process, one is unfolding, that something new that we are hearing, we get more rasas.
Yeah, it
On the other
shakes you from
side,
your complacency also, you're
yes,
saying. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, bring me back to the back to the ground.
Mhm.
Yeah, so even Pari Prabhuji's lecture also bring one to the ground.
Yeah, he has very practical examples.
Very practically. So even when I have got lot of mercy from Pari Prabhuji, mercy in a different way, but I see myself when initially I used to take, of course, I never used to tell anyone, but in the heart, I used to tell personally, why me? And it was like, but it took good amount of time to understand what that really means. Even getting that mercy, where even though you feel bad at that moment, uh, but it took really some time for me to understand that. but initially it was general way of reacting. Anyway, so
Yeah, I know.
okay. So I think if no question, then we can stop here, and we'll offer obeisances to the assembled Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya
Bischa
कृपासिन्धुभ्यः
Kripatundabhyevacha
पतितानां
Patitanam
पावनेभ्यो
Pavanebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो
Vaishnavebhyo
नमो
Namo
नमः
Namaha
अनंतकोटि
Anantakoti
वैष्णव
Vaishnava
की
Vrinda ki Jai
श्रील
Srila
प्रभुपाद
Prabhupada ki Jai
भगवद गीता की जय
Ki Jai Madhav Kanta Prabhu ki Jai Hare
हरि बोल
Krishna everyone.
हरे कृष्ण